The darkness is not over yet. Welcome back. Daniel's story continues. Tunnels, whispers, and the approaching danger. If you're ready, let's step into the darkness together. Don't forget to subscribe. I am Daniel. If you've made it this far, you already know I am no ordinary child. The shadows watch me, call out to me. They want me. Elias and Sister Clara guide me, but we are no longer alone, because I have been noticed, and now others are in danger because of me. That night I saw a name repeated over and over in the old Latin texts Elias was reading, Bishop Callahan. Elias's expression darkened with concern. Is Bishop Callahan still alive? I asked. Yes, Elias murmured. But no one has known his whereabouts for years. He was one of the greatest exorcists of the church. If anyone knows more about Malvaris, it's him. Hope flickered inside me. Maybe we could finally win this war. But finding Callahan would be more difficult than we thought. By morning, Elias, Clara, and I set off. We were going to visit an old monk who had connections to the church father Jonathan Pierce. It was said that he once knew Bishop Callahan. We arrived at an abandoned monastery on the outskirts of New Orleans. Elias knocked, but no answer came. His brow furrowed as he gently pushed the door open. A deep creaking echoed, followed by the stale stench of mold. Father Pierce sat on a worn wooden chair. His frail body looked exhausted, his eyes sunken. But when he saw us, recognition flashed across his face. Elias, he whispered, I've been expecting you. We need to find Callahan, Elias said. Daniel is in danger. Father Pierce studied me for a long moment before nodding. Bishop Callahan is hiding in an old monastery in Savannah. But be warned, once you go there may be no turning back. Malvaris' shadow follows him too. Elias thanked him, and we hurried out. But as soon as we stepped outside, a figure in a black cloak stood in front of the monastery. His face was hidden, but he held a metal seal in his hand. Father Elias and Daniel. His voice was cold as ice. You are on the wrong path. Elias reached for his cross. Tell us who you are. The man lowered his hood. He had no eyes, only dark, empty sockets. I am a servant of Malvaris. You should not have interfered. Shadows swirled around us instantly. Clara and Elias began chanting prayers, but I froze. Deep inside, a voice whispered to me, Daniel, join us. We are your family. My head throbbed. I stepped back, but just then Elias placed a firm hand on my shoulder. You are with us, Daniel. Never forget that. I shut my eyes and joined the prayers. The shadows shrieked and scattered. The cloaked figure stumbled back and vanished into the darkness. But before he disappeared, he left one last message. You cannot stop us. You will understand, Daniel, very soon. That night we set off for Savannah, but deep inside I could feel something changing. The shadows, they were trying to tell me something, and the terrifying thing was I was beginning to understand them. The past few weeks have turned my world upside down. The entities lurking in the shadows of the church, the dark whispers of Malvaris, and Elias and Sister Clara's efforts to protect me. But now we needed more. We needed strong allies, maybe even real friends. When we arrived in Savannah, everything felt different. Unlike the heavy, Gothic air of New Orleans, this place was more vibrant. But beneath its surface, I could feel the lurking darkness. Elias was reaching out to an old friend in hopes of finding Bishop Callahan. But for me, Savannah was completely unfamiliar. While Sister Clara attended to church matters, I decided to take a walk. That's when I met Nick and Olivia. Nick was tall, dark-haired, and always ready with a joke. Olivia, with her fiery red hair and bright green eyes, was full of energy, maybe a little reckless. They saw me sitting alone at a cafe, and Olivia approached me right away. "Hey, first time around here?" she asked. I hesitated. Trusting strangers had become difficult. But then I saw Olivia's warm smile. "Yeah," I admitted, "just got here." Nick took a sip of his coffee and raised an eyebrow. "Savannah's got a strange vibe. If you hear weird things at night, don't be surprised." A chill ran down my spine. Weird things? So I wasn't the only one. Nick and Olivia were amateur paranormal investigators. Nick knew about the city's old tunnels, and Olivia had explored abandoned buildings where strange occurrences had been reported. I didn't tell them everything, but I gave them enough clues to pique their interest. That night, while Elias and Sister Clara were still tracking Callahan, I met up with Nick and Olivia again. Olivia led us to Savannah's oldest library. As we entered, the scent of old books and the creaking of wooden shelves surrounded us. Nick pulled out an ancient map and pointed. "Here, there's an old underground vault beneath the city. They say it's cursed." I swallowed hard. Cursed places had become part of my life. Just then, Olivia returned with an old book. When she flipped it open, I saw a familiar name, Malvaris. The pages were aged and torn, but Olivia could still read them. It says here, he was part of an old cult. And look, there's a name mentioned, Callahan. My eyes widened. "Bishop Callahan?" Nick whistled. "We need to show this to Elias." We rushed back to the church. Elias and Sister Clara were waiting inside. They weren't too thrilled that I had brought Nick and Olivia into this, but after seeing the information they had uncovered, their opinions shifted. Elias studied the book Olivia had found. His voice was low and tense. "This explains Malvaris' true nature. He is not just a demon. He is a gatekeeper." My stomach nodded. "A gatekeeper?" Sister Clara exhaled sharply. "That changes everything. Malvaris doesn't just want you, Daniel. He wants the gate to open." The gate, was it a passage to the shadow realm? I felt a deep unease settle inside me, ... Nick and Olivia seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. Olivia crossed her arms. "If this thing is trying to open some kind of portal, we need to stop it." Elias nodded. "Yes, but it won't be easy. Daniel is no longer the only one in danger. You're both part of this now." Nick shrugged. "We've been investigating paranormal activity for years. Now we've finally found something real. So where do we start?" For the first time in a while, I felt a sense of relief. I wasn't alone anymore. We were a team now. But that night, as I returned to my room, I saw the shadow standing outside my window. It spoke to me once more. "Daniel, we're watching. Your new friends won't save you." A shiver ran through me, but this time I wasn't afraid, because now I wasn't fighting alone. The next morning, I spent time in Savannah with Nick and Olivia. Olivia, ever the joker, grinned at me. "Maybe we should start a ghost hunting team," she teased. Nick laughed. "Yeah, we could call ourselves the Ghost Warriors." As our laughter echoed through the streets, I felt a warmth inside me, a feeling I hadn't had in a long time. But our joy was short-lived. My phone buzzed. A message from Elias. "Get back to the church. Something's wrong." We exchanged glances. The fun was over. The real fight was just beginning. After our short break in the streets of Savannah, Elias's message pulled us back to reality. "Get back to the church immediately. Something is wrong." Olivia and Nick turned serious. The jokes and laughter were gone, replaced by concern. When we arrived, the church doors were wide open, and an eerie silence filled the air. The usual echo of prayers, the soft crackling of candles, everything was gone. As we stepped inside, we saw Elias and Sister Clara standing before the altar. But they weren't alone. A man with a long gray beard, sharp eyes, and a tattered robe stood beside Elias. Bishop Callahan. Nick whispered, "Wow, he looks like he stepped straight out of a horror movie." Olivia shot him a look, but she stayed silent. Callahan's gaze felt like a heavy weight pressing down on us. Finally, Elias broke the silence. "Bishop Callahan knows about Daniel's situation. He's here to help us understand what Malvaris truly is and what it wants." Callahan took a few steps forward and locked eyes with me. "You've spoken to it, haven't you?" he asked. "You've heard the whispers." I swallowed hard. "Yes," I admitted. It calls to me." Callahan nodded. "As I expected. You, Daniel, may be a gatekeeper." The entire room went cold. Sister Clara immediately clutched her cross. Elias's jaw tightened. "No," he said firmly. "We cannot accept that." Nick raised a hand. "Can someone explain what a gatekeeper is?" Callahan took a deep breath before explaining. "Some people are born with a unique ability to sense shadows in other realms. They can communicate with them. But there's a cost. Entities like Malvaris find these people and use them. They do everything in their power to pull them into their world." Olivia crossed her arms. "And Daniel is one of these people?" Callahan nodded. "Yes, that's why Malvaris is after him. Daniel can open a gate or close it." The words echoed in my head. "Open the gate or close it." I hesitated. "I don't want this." Callahan narrowed his eyes. "That doesn't change the truth, boy." Just then, the church candles flickered violently. The shadows shifted. Sister Clara immediately began to pray. Elias pulled a vial of holy water from his pocket. Callahan's voice turned sharp. "They're here." The doors slammed shut behind us. Nick and Olivia stood frozen behind me. The shadows thickened inside the church. The whispers grew louder. "Daniel, you belong with us. You are ours." Suddenly it became hard to breathe. The weight of the darkness pressed against my chest. Nick shouted, "What do we do?" Elias raised his cross. "Daniel, don't answer them." But it was too late. My vision blurred, and then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was somewhere else. A vast, empty void stretched endlessly around me. No ground, no sky. Just shifting gray figures moving in the distance. And standing before me, him, Malvaris. A pitch-black silhouette, taller than me. Its shape shifting like a swirling vortex of darkness. But the most terrifying part were its eyes. There were none. "Daniel," the voice boomed. "I see you." I was paralyzed. I couldn't speak. "You know you belong here," it continued. "That church, those people, they can't stop this. You hear me. You understand me." A chill ran down my spine. But somewhere deep inside me I felt something, not fear, curiosity. Just then, someone touched my shoulder. I turned and saw Olivia standing there, but she shouldn't have been here. "Daniel," she said, "we need to go back." And then I realized this wasn't Olivia. It was a trick, Malvaris's game. I shut my eyes and began whispering the prayers Elias had taught me. When I opened them again, I was back in the church. Elias and Callahan stood over me. Nick and Olivia were staring at me, panic in their eyes. "We brought him back," Elias murmured. I struggled to stand, my legs shaking. Olivia, teary-eyed, pulled me into a hug. "Don't ever do that again." Nick placed a hand on my shoulder. You're not possessed or anything, right?" I swallowed hard. No, but Malvaris had touched me, and I couldn't forget what it had said. Callahan watched me in silence. Then, in a grave voice, he said, "This is just the beginning." That night, I lay in bed, trying to sleep. But the moment I closed my eyes, the whispers returned. "Daniel, we need you." "Why do you fight us?" I pressed my back against the wall, my mind battling itself. A part of me knew Malvaris was lying, that it only wanted to use me, but another part of me wondered if there was truth in its words. I stayed awake until sunrise, and when I finally looked at my window, there were fingerprints on the glass, as if someone had been watching me all night, before vanishing with the first light of dawn. This is just the beginning. Malvaris still lurks in the shadows, and Daniel's fate remains uncertain. As the truth unfolds, the danger grows. In the next chapter, the secrets of darkness will deepen even further. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it.